Welcome back to Manufacturing Matters Jackson, the first and only podcast dedicated to serving the manufacturing industry of Jackson County, Michigan. My name is Keith Gillenwater, and I am the president and CEO of Accelerate Jackson County.
And I'm Olivia Steele, Executive Director of Jackson Area Manufacturers Association.
So I think, Olivia, this may be, as we were trying to figure it out, I think this is episode number 9, maybe.
Yes.
We rely heavily on our trusty producer slash podcast guy slash media expert, David from JTV, to keep us on the straight and narrow and remind us what episode it is. But I think we sort of stumped him a little bit because I saw him counting on his fingers this morning. So
Right? Yeah.
But we also forgive him because he is celebrating the birth of a new baby. So, there's probably something you and I should know doing this, but I don't know. David, any you want to weigh in on this at all?
I don't know what day it is, let alone what episode we're on. So forgive me.
Fair enough. So, Olivia, what's new in the world of JAMA?
What's new? The trade show is over. So trade show was last week, and it was a success and, always a learning experience. So we'll continue to improve and hopefully we'll have a better show in 2 years.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, I was there most of the day Thursday. I thought it was great. I really liked the panel discussions. I mean, I think there's always things we can tweak, right, to make them better, to make them more engaging and that kind of stuff. But, we had a fair amount of people in the room for ours. I moderated the supply chain panel, so I thought that was pretty good. And if I'm not mistaken, those are going to be available on our Manufacturing Matters Jackson podcast as well. So you should be able to watch any of those, six panel discussions, I think, that we
5
did.
or 6, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's good. It's obviously it's good content for us, and I think it was very helpful too.
Absolutely. I'm excited that we'll be able to share those out, and a learning experience for everybody.
A lot of vendors as well in the trade show area.
I had 74 booths registered this year.
That's awesome.
Really exciting.
That's awesome. I love to walk around and see what people are doing. Again, I've mentioned this 100 times on this podcast at this point, if I've mentioned it once, but the best part of my job is going to a facility and seeing how they do things. And so I love when you can go into a room and see a lot of companies all showing you how they do things.
Yep, and that was the intent. If we bring those kids in for a tour, they're seeing one facility, right? But if we have a trade show, then they're seeing multiple opportunities available.
Absolutely. I always look forward to seeing what Shane at Machining Momentum, who I think is a few upcoming guest of ours, is doing this year. He was making custom dog tags, and so I think I have the challenge coin from him from last year. So I did not remember to get a dog tag this year, so I'll have to make sure that when he's in here in a couple of months that I hit him up. So don't let me forget to get my free dog tag. So
All right, cool.
So
what about at Accelerate Jackson? What's new? What's going on?
yeah, so a lot going on. Actually, we've had a lot of project work lately. We've been working through just site visits from companies and things like that. We are launching a study right now. We just executed a contract on that to try to help us find some additional industrial sites that we can start to build out. We have a lot of farm fields in Jackson County. We have a lot of wetlands in Jackson County. What we can actually turn from a farm field into an actual industrial site is always the challenge. And so it's something that we know we need to do. And so we just executed a contract with a firm to try to help us identify those next 10 to 15 sites, the short-term and the long-term sorts of growth opportunities. Exciting for us, as of September 1st, we are now officially the Economic Development Organization for the City of Jackson as well. So our organization has not technically been the Economic Development Organization for the City of Jackson, just the rest of Jackson County and the rest of the community. And so that's something that we've been working on pretty pretty intentionally over the last 18 months that I've been here. And so we were excited to be able to get that contract approved. And so we can officially, as opposed to unofficially, be doing economic development for everybody. So that's
Awesome.
yeah, that's something we're pretty excited about. And we're in the middle of capital campaign season now, too. I think I've teased it the last couple of times, but I would certainly offer out anyone who's interested in supporting economic development to check out our website, acceleratejacksoncounty.org/accelerate2030. We will be happy to accept any and all donations from anyone who is interested. And Olivia, I have an invoice for you that you didn't know you were getting, and so I hope you brought your checkbook.
All right. Awesome. I did not, but yeah. So I did just get word that the AMTC has welding booths being delivered today. So
That's awesome.
I know.
How many do you have?
12.
Nice.
Yep.
Are they? Tell me about them. I mean, what led to you getting them?
Yeah. So JAMA partnered with the Shop Rat Foundation and it formed the Advanced Manufacturing Training Center, AMTC, and trying to do as much training as we can. Welding is one of those things that we can offer 4 nights a week. So we worked with Druschel Fabrication to get 12 welding booths for that facility.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, did Jeff and Druschel, did they manufacture the welding booths then?
They did. Yep, and powder coated them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
At the trade show last week, I think he had probably one of the coolest things that he had set up and was actually taking people outside and teaching them to weld, which I know 2 of my staff went out and tried their hand at welding, and I'm not going to lie, I was pretty jealous because I wanted to go and do it. I wanted to, because I've never actually welded anything either. I always thought it would be something that would be cool to try my hand at. I've done the virtual welders and that kind of thing, but timing just didn't work out for me. So
Yeah, him and I talked about it. And I said, yeah, absolutely. Bring a welder. Let him weld.
absolutely.
So
I mean,
the spiders were great.
yeah. I think it's exciting. I mean, obviously the trade show was great. It was great that Jeff had that welding set up, and it's exciting that you're working with a local company to fabricate welding booths for us and at the training center. So I think that's awesome. So
Yeah, awesome.
So guest today is Jake Sponsler. We are talking about automation.
Yes. So Jake is from Orbitform, and I'm excited to have the conversation with him. And welcome back to Manufacturing Matters Jackson. Today we have Jake Sponsler from Orbitform.
Okay.
You want to tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Orbitform?
Sure. So Orbitform makes forming and fastening equipment and automation systems. We were started in 1984. Mike Shirkey is the sole owner of Orbitform. And my role there has evolved from being a machine designer, starting there about 20 years ago, into some leadership roles, and now I'm the president there.
Awesome.
Awesome. What industries do you serve from Orbitform?
So we serve roughly 20 industries. So pretty much anybody that's putting stuff together, we want to talk to them. So, if you go to Menards, you can walk through the aisles there and you can see a ton of stuff that we do. And we've actually used that with previous employee training. So, but we serve, we're obviously being in Michigan, there's a hefty amount of automotive that we do. That ranges from maybe 30 to 50% of our sales. Everything else is those other, 19 or so industries. So medical, aerospace, hand tools, industrial, furniture. Like I said, just about anything where people are putting stuff together.
I love walking through and taking the tour of the facility and kind of going into your museum that you kind of get to the end and you see just examples of some of the products that you guys have had a hand in making. And it always fascinates me to see the variety. I mean, you said 20 industries, right?
Yep,
but it's you just have to see it to believe it, to see the wide range of things that you guys are doing, which I think is just cool, right?
Yeah. Before I started there, I thought, well, how, it's smushing rivets. What could it be? But once you get there, it's like almost everything. I look around the room here, and I'm looking at the chairs, and I'm going, oh, those can be assembled with our equipment. And pretty much everywhere I look, I see something that Orbitform could affect.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So today, lots of manufacturers are moving into automation, robotics, technology. Has Orbitform implemented anything around automation?
Yeah, we have. We have a unique environment because we're making machines, so we aren't making high volumes of anything. When we're in our machine shop, our average, our normal runs are 1 to 100 pieces, and our average run might be 10 pieces. So it's not. It's a job shop environment, but there's still opportunity for us, and we've implemented that. The bigger applications that we've had, it's something we've had a journey probably the last 20 years in terms of engaging with it, and it's one we're on. We're a long way to go on it, but we started with kind of the one and done machining type, and every time we upgrade a CNC, we look at how we can combine operations. A lot of people think of automation, they think of robots, but that's really where we started, because if we can take a component that takes 3 or 4 setups in different machines and we can combine it into one machine, well, that's way more efficient. And so every time we run that product once or twice a year, we have that opportunity for improvement. So along with that, we've done some other stuff more recently. Recent examples, we've implemented a turning center that has a bar feed system for some higher run tools that we do for a certain category, and that is something that we can run lights out. We have another CNC that we've run for quite a while that feeds the stock that we can run lights out. And then we also are implementing a cobot in our manufacturing space. So even though we run kind of low volume, high mix type stuff, there's still opportunities where there's a cross section of at least enough parts, say 10 or more, but the run time is longer, where having the operators stay there and attend the machine doesn't make sense. But say it's a 20-minute cycle time and you're running 10 parts, well, you have 200 minutes of machine time that you need to account for. And if it's something we're going to run fairly frequently, and for us frequently might be 2 to 4 times a year, having that cobot there to be able to set up and walk away and run another machine for our machinist is a big deal for us. So we're just starting that journey of how we implement a cobot and how we kind of organize our parts so that they're going through the right work center that way. But it's still something where we see the opportunity. And the trend in the automation industry is to help job shops a little bit more. There's a lot more opportunity year over year in terms of job shops being able to implement automation.
Go ahead.
So, you talked a lot about the efficiency, right? And that time you're getting back on the production line from your staff, which is obviously very valuable.
Yeah.
Where do you see that in your quality output as well then, with some of the automation and broader industry 4.0 sort of transformations?
Yeah, for us, with the lower volume, it's not as significant. The quality output isn't as significant because we have a lot of interaction with the parts, and we have a lot of checks that go into it. When we're implementing for our customers, though, it's a huge part of the reason that they invest. So, we're on the side of implementing it internal, but we're also providing equipment that has that automation on it. And we're seeing those different industries I talked about, that each of them is on a journey and at a different point. Automotive probably being the extreme where they've been automated for a while and they're leveling up. But all of those other industries in their own right, they're leveling up as time goes on because they see it as a business need and a way to be competitive. And so each one of them, they're looking at it, and when they're upgrading their automation, part of that consideration is the fact that they're going to get a more repeatable process and better quality.
Great.
So can you talk about maybe a little bit of how you've tracked that efficiency to determine what to implement to better Orbitform?
Yeah, so for us, again, it's a little bit different slice than some manufacturers, but for us, it really comes down to the amount of time that we're putting, amount of labor we're putting on each part we're machining, right? So the first piece in 2011, the first one and done machine we put in was our Mazak Integrex. It's a 5-axis twin spindle machine, and we took components. We have a core piece of technology, our orbital head housings, that is kind of the end of tooling that we form with. That previously was something that we had several hours into each part in different machine stages, and we saw that over time, by combining them into a one and done, we took that down to 40 minutes per part. And to your point, Keith, on the quality, we did see a massive increase in quality, because before we would have we'd have about 40% fallout or 40% questionable parts in terms of the critical components on it. And we've gone to a place where maybe once every couple runs, we have a part that we select out and we say, all right, that's not quite good enough. And even that part is probably better than much of what we were doing before we implemented that machine. So kind of retracting on my not really applicable to our business as we talk through it and think about it, but definitely, it's been an improvement from that perspective.
Well, we have David here, and so David can always go back and selectively edit your answer if we need to.
Sounds good.
So we always ask a question with all of our guests about AI and how AI has, if it's being integrated into any aspects of your business, and if so, where has it proven to be most valuable?
Yeah. So I think the first spot it hit, which is probably not a surprise, is marketing. So our marketing department has, and our marketing leader has run head on into AI and uses a number of different tools to really just be more efficient and be able to produce some slightly different content. So that's been a home run. Other areas in the office, we've had some success where we have an in-house programmer, and he's worked on helping develop some tools. So we've developed a wiki tool for kind of our Orbitform knowledge database. What he developed with that, he overlaid with AI. So basically, we can populate it with all of our processes and maybe different manuals for our ERP and things like that. And we have essentially an intelligent search function to say, hey, I want to know how to receive a line item on this bill of materials. How do I do that? And it'll point us to the right section in the ERP manual. Or if there was a different Orbitform process that we needed to search, it would do that. Really just providing a shortcut to the answer, right? It's just making the people more efficient. Other spots, we have most of our team is engaging with the chatbot, just to try and be more efficient, get answers quicker. They might put a manual into the chatbot and ask it questions rather than reading through the whole manual on a specific piece of equipment. So those are kind of the big hitters. We're continuously looking at how it can impact our business. We've investigated the CAM support on the machining side as how we can use that. It's nothing that we've gotten too down the road with, but we're looking at it and determining what we want to do with it. And we're in the process right now of 2026 planning of what are our initiatives around AI going to be, because I think that's important.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because I never thought about using it the way for that second example you used on kind of putting your manual together for all of your processes of how you could then go back and search for that, because that's something even obviously different organization, different type of organization that I run. But as we've started to think about how do we get all of those processes put in one place so that, you always use the example, if I get hit by a bus, like who can step into this position, right?
Yeah.
And know how to do these certain things.
Right.
And so we've been talking through having everybody go back and document, every step of their process. But I haven't thought about how we could integrate some of those tools. So I may need to talk with you afterwards.
All right.
So.
Sounds good.
Yeah. What challenges have you found with automation and AI? Dying to know.
Yeah, I mean, with any sort of change, you have people involved, you have fear involved. So I mean, that's always a challenge. So you have to make sure you're implementing, just like you would with anything, proper change management. You're engaged with the team. Everybody's part of the discussion. Not everybody has to 100% agree, but they at least have to feel like they've been heard. So that's a big first step, is just anything you're going to do to move the business forward with technology or anything else. It's just how do you get the team around it to understand the why, at least, and then what support can you get and what input can you get. The other aspect I would say is that at times we've struggled with letting perfect get in the way of progress. So, and that's always a challenge because a lot of these tools are new. You haven't done them before. I think you just have to be truly invested in the fact that you're going to learn and you're going to have to adapt. And you might not end up exactly where you think you need to be or you're going to be, but you're going to end up in a better spot and a smarter spot. You kind of need to with AI and automation if you're going to be successful in the future. They're somewhat critical requirements for most businesses in the future. And so you got to figure out how to get over that hurdle of what's, trying to make a perfect case for it and just move forward and then adapt.
I love that. I've heard various iterations of that quote of "Don't let perfect be the enemy of good enough," right? And the first couple of times I heard that, it was hard for me to process my brain because in the back of your mind, you're always thinking, well, of course I have to be perfect, right? Of course I have to do this 100% right. And you realize I don't know if it comes with age or experience, to realize that, you're still moving, you're making better leaps by not always shooting for this. You're always shooting for that, but right here is where you get it, and then you make that better, right? So I love
Absolutely.
that. So with the integration of automation, obviously with AI, and there's always comes the question around cybersecurity. Are there cybersecurity concerns? I remember even with our IT provider, when I got our first subscription to Copilot a couple of years ago, our IT guy saying, you realize what all you're opening the door to, right? What they're having access to. So has that been a concern in your industry or at your company, and how do you combat that?
Yeah, it certainly is. I think with any tool, there's risk, right? And so you have to be able to balance the idea that there's risk with what the rewards are. Rewards are tremendous with the tool. But you also want to make sure that you're mitigating the risk where you can. So one of the examples we have is we really are intentional about making sure that we're keeping customer information confidential, and that we're overly cautious about how that information is distributed, right? Because that's our lifeline, that's our business, that's our credibility. And so certain tools like going directly into ChatGPT is not where we're going to look at things like how do we review customer contracts or things like that. Now, it's, there's certain places where that's not necessarily a problem with confidentiality, but we want to be on the side of certain.
Sure.
We're there. So we developed an internally, one of the tools I mentioned that we developed, or that I didn't mention, was that we've developed an open source chat. We used an open source tool to create an internal chatbot, and that chatbot is what we're using to look at terms and conditions and customer statements of work for review, just so that information is kept inside of Orbitform. All the data, it doesn't, you download the model and then you just keep it inside the walls, inside our security. So we're taking actions like that just to make sure that where we feel there's the most identified exposure, that we have control of it. And when in doubt, we're going to be cautious.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Makes sense.
What have we missed? What should we share about Orbitform with our audience that we haven't talked about today?
That's a good question. I think in terms of automation, I think one of the critical points that I would encourage with anybody, because like I said, we're on an automation journey. A lot of our customers, we talk to them, and they're at maybe 0.0 or 0.1 in the journey to, let's call it a 0 to 10 journey, right? And there's very few companies in the world that are at the 10, right? But say they're at 0.0 is 0.1. We come in as we sell in a consultative way. We're trying to be an advisor and make sure that we're adding value, even if it's outside of our product. And we come in and they say, well, we have this component we need to assemble. We want to fully automate it. Okay. What's your infrastructure look like to support? What's your team look like to support? What's your knowledge base? And they don't have anything because they're at a 0 or a 1. And so it's like, okay, well, you can't jump to 8. You can't. You need to, let's figure out what 2 is, and how can we point you to a resource that can help you get to level 2. And again, it's the process that I talked about, where you have to learn, evaluate, evolve as you go through those steps. But if you think you're going to spend $1 million and go from 1 to 8, you're going to spend $1 million on a boat anchor probably, because you're not going to have the team to support it. It's not going to run. It's not going to provide the results that you think it is. You have to ramp up towards that, and that's probably one of the biggest mistakes I see out there.
What trends are you seeing from your customers? I mean, you kind of just touched on it a little bit of how you guys operate in a consultative role to try to help them get there.
Yeah.
But what are you seeing from your customers as it relates to automation? Is this, is it something that basically everybody's doing? Everybody is, and so they're expecting that from you as well?
Yeah. Yeah, I think probably 80% of our customers are. There's still some that say, this is our business model, we're profitable in it. We're gonna ride it out until
Ride or die.
Yeah, pretty much. We're gonna ride it, and while they're still thinking about it, they're not taking any active action. And the other 80%, it's constant conversation, and it depends on the industry. Like I said, with the approximate 20 different industries. From an industry-specific standpoint, most of the industries are at a similar point. I mean, there's outliers in each industry in terms of how automated they are from company to company. But generally, certain industries like, hand tools is at a different point than automotive. And so, but each of them is looking to level up. They're looking to the future of how they advance their automation. And again, it's a swath depending on what they're making and what the traditional labor model is and things like that. But all of them are really engaging. All of them are talking about AI and how they can use that. Robots have been there for a long time, so the traditional thinking of automation is there. But more and more customers are saying we'd like to implement opportunities that help us make our team more efficient.
Awesome. Anything else?
No, I have one more question.
Sure.
So those companies that aren't really thinking about it, that think what they're doing is going well, what would you encourage them to think about as the first step to maybe implement some automation or AI?
Well, I think the first step I would do is encourage them to try and look at what their business looks like in 5 years. Because I think that's where they'll start to see, okay, this is why I need to do this. If they do a risk evaluation of future business, I would assume that most industries, most businesses are going to look at it 5 years from now. My business is threatened if I'm not doing anything to advance in terms of automation and engagement like that. In terms of other steps, I think it's just have somebody come in like an Orbitform or a different company that's engaged in industrial automation, and just have them give you a review and feedback. Quality advisors from companies like that are going to spot things that you don't see if you don't already have automation in your plant. And if you have, one of the things I like to do when we're engaging in a new activity is engage with 2 or 3 or 4 different vendors because you learn something. Engage in those things to learn. And so engage with 2, 3, 4 different automation vendors and learn what you need to learn, and they'll identify opportunities for you in terms of what potential is. And that will help, I hope, the risk analysis balanced with here's what experts see as potential opportunities within my operation, balance those two and say, which one of those, what dials into making sense for us to take a first step.
Awesome.
That was actually, it made me think of another question, but he actually answered it as we were doing it. I was going to ask, how do you evaluate what those emerging technologies are that you're going to integrate into your facility, right?
Yeah.
But I think you just kind of answered that. So
I think we're in a world where everybody wants the answer to be on the computer, but my encouragement would be get an expert into your plant and have them walk around with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have one last question, if you would indulge me a little bit. What's the coolest project that you've done at Orbitform, and why?
Well, that's a horribly tough answer.
Okay, fair
question
enough.
to answer. I'll highlight one we have going on because I'm pretty excited about it, and it's been one of the more challenging projects that we've had. We have a partnership with a company called Lightspeed Concepts, and they're making sand casting 3D printers. So it's an emerging technology. It's something that sand casting is not going away. I mean, metal 3D printing has its place, but casting is going to be here for a long time. And so we've partnered with them. We're the machine provider. We're helping them on the machine side. And so that's been a process of a product development for a technology that is, a launching technology in terms of first real U.S. provided version of that machine with a lot of advantages in terms of cost, the way it prints, some other technology advantages that we feel like it's going to be a great entry into the market, and it's there. And, it's just launching, so that has been a really exciting and cool project that I think if anybody wants to check that out, it's I believe the website's Lightspeed Concepts.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
Awesome.
That's awesome. I've had in communities I've worked in before. I've had a lot of casting facilities, aluminum casting, green sand casting facilities, those kinds of things,
Yeah,
and so. Which I think is just a cool concept, anyways, and that's been around for a very long time, and so. But I think it's fascinating to me. I can't wait to see it, to be honest. Right? So.
Jake, I want to say thank you, but I also want to point out that we've had a fire truck and the jackhammer in the back today. The only thing missing was the train.
Oh well.
Jake,
that's
thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, bring the excitement, right?
Yeah.
Well, this is what happens when you broadcast live from downtown Jackson.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
you're going to hear trains, you're going to hear fire trucks, you're going to hear maybe a police car once in a while.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.